afternoon, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the energies for today's Monday's Musings on the 18th of March 2024, the day before what feels like the much needed immersion into the equinox energy. I'm very aware that we have a full moon at the end of the week, I do believe in Libra, and I'm aware of that because of my own balance this week, things that are coming up to light to be weighed against where we are, and I feel a real revealing conflict this week of where we may not quite be where we could be, and that being a almost necessary stance that we now need to see if we are to truly appreciate what it is that is veiling, is hiding, is cloaking us in our own potential, our own stories included. When I sensed into the energy over the last few days, yes, I can feel the light coming, obviously with the equinox, but I can also, yesterday I went to take my dog for a walk and I can still sense like an autumn, like a winter, like a darkness around us, and when there is more light there is more shadow. No, this is to be expected, and it almost feels like the more we can align with the truth of the non-polarity in our life now, that one does go hand in hand. I was going to say does not go without the other, but does go hand in hand. It feels like an old English language trying to come through, but goes hand in hand, doth go hand in hand with each other. The easier the balance is going to be restored. And why is balance important? Why are equinox energies important? Why is it important that our first eclipse is in the sign of Libra? Eclipses are where we are being shadowed. Eclipses are where we are not quite seeing the full picture, the full potential as a result. The last few days I've been walking around almost as if I feel in a little bit of a otherworldly place, a veil-like place, not in regards to only my own stories. There has been things rising to the surface that need to be seen, particularly in regards to aspects of myself that I've hidden in order to fit in, and then really felt the frustration of fitting in, or really felt the annoyance of myself of believing that I need to fit in order to be X, Y and Z. That has been coming to the surface this week for me in particular, but also there has been an energy of having to dig deep, to go beyond the narratives, beyond the stories, beyond the easy, and I'm going to say easy, assumptions and expectations, beyond the distractions. And there are some whoppers, there really are some whoppers. And what are they doing? Yes, of course, they're separating people again, they're separating beliefs, they're separating groups, they're separating, they're just separating, it is what they're doing. They're separating the energies, all of these distractions, our own stories included, separating ourselves and from our truth. First and foremost this week, looking at why we may be attracted to that. What is it we don't want to see about ourselves? What is it we are continually remaining in an eclipse-like energy with this week? For me, I know there's been a big energy rising of this almost martyr-like essence of I can't seem to get out there, I can't seem to get any further, I can't seem to be seen, but on the same side hiding big aspects of myself, you know, and recognizing that it's me that needs to see myself. And this week there is going to be some moments of truth. You know, we can say this is happening out there, this is happening there, but how are we acknowledging that within us as well? You don't have to, you know, it is our own journey, it is our own path, but if we're going to truly get to the nub of what's going on with the energy, there is almost an expectation of releasing some of this polarity now and looking at what is going on for us. So this morning, yes, I woke up, my head in my hands, oh woe is me, I'm not being seen, and I did take it further, and I did feel into that because I owe it to myself to recognise where this is coming from and the healing that is available, as do we all. And I did go further with that, and there is a big emphasis there of things that I'm not allowing myself to see. Why? Because there's a lack of acceptance there. Okay, so that's my journey, but we all have our own little rabbit holes that we can go down, and we can make them about other people, or we can start to venture in to our own wisdom this week. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. There's a lot of temptation around us. There's a lot of other people's wounds coming to the surface and a feeling as if we need to tend to them before we tend to our own. Again, recognizing they are one and the same. So what is coming up here is actually coming up for you as well. There's a lot of different types of energy almost fighting for attention this week, not only externally but within us as well. And it's coming to a culmination as we go into the Libra full moon to recognize what stance are we going to take in order to provide balance. Which brings me back to that initial question: why is balance so important? Well, within all cycles we have harmony. Within all aspects of life there is an equilibrium that must be maintained, that is constantly being returned to. When we are in harmony with ourselves, it doesn't matter what cards you use, what form of healing you use, what religion you believe in, what you see outside of you. Any of that is a pure side effect of where you are at with yourself. Okay, so if you can restore balance to yourself, your body will work in harmony at its fullest potential. If you can restore balance between you and your higher self, then you will work at your fullest potential. If you can have balance in your work life, in your relationships, in your connection to whatever it is you want to connect to, nature, faith, whatever that may be, there must be balance. There's an old saying about moderation, and how it is the key to everything, and how we can be out of balance with things, and that can be just as detrimental to our health. And that can be spirituality, that can be the things that we love, that can be everything. Everything requires moderation, and this week that's really coming to light, which feels like that's all I want to share before I look at the energies this week. And there does almost seem to be a cut-off point, a deadline of how much we're going to go over things, and that's where my eyes feel quite tired. How much energy we're going to keep giving the same thing in different ways this week, recognizing where we're at. So acknowledging that, witnessing that, and compartmentalizing that, particularly if we're going to give advice to others or hold space for others, recognizing where you are at before you project that onto others, stepping back from that, in particular with readings and healings and mentorship and teaching and leadership this week. If we are to do so from a more evolved place, it goes beyond where we are at. We have to make space for that other energy trying to come through. There is a lot more evolved frequencies ready, waiting. They're already within us all, trying to come to the surface. But it is really important that we look at where we're at in regards to accepting them, embracing them, receiving them, and then giving them. Take time this week. Pause, breathe before reacting. Otherwise it's going to be the same thing. Now the other thing, I have to be acutely aware, I'm drinking some cacao so I could end up with brown teeth. The other thing is to keep coming back to the heart. The energies out there at the moment are a confusing shit show. They are really dotted all over the place from a mental perspective, and of course they would be. We're going into Libra, which is an air sign. They really are quite out there. And it's almost as if they are tempting people out of their body, as if they are tempting people away from their heart space, as if they are tempting people out of the notion of being good enough as they are into this I need to be better type energy, or I need to find out more, or I need more, or you know, and to an extent there's a certain amount of truth there in regards to whether or not you're going to grow over the next few weeks or months. But what is it you actually need more of? Excuse me. And I can really take that on board myself as well. Recognizing that when we step back, when we don't make everything about us, when we can I'm not degrading the ego. There is a place for the ego. But when we can step back and observe our ego, observing our ego, observing our ego, and observe ourselves on a much wider perspective, we also receive wisdom that we hadn't seen because we've stepped back. We're less tunnel visioned and we're more expansive in our view, not only of ourselves but each other. So that is where I'm going to leave it before I look at the energies this week, and I'm going to do so by utilising the Druid Craft Tarot. I like these because they're a mixture of Wicca and Druidry, and they're very old medicine. They're very nature-based, and it feels quite applicable as we go into the equinox, regardless whether you're in the northern or the southern hemisphere. The equinox reminds us of cycles. It reminds us of our connection to the earth. It reminds us of nature, our own nature as well. And where there may be things coming to light with that we may have hidden, where there may need to be more of a balance with our own nature also. Which is why I'm going to use those cards. And I also love these cards because they're kind of too big for my hands. And for the first time in a very long time, far too long actually, I kind of like the having to stretch my capabilities. You know, it's only physically my hands, but having to stretch this week. We are all being guided to really feel into the expansive potential that is there, rather than fight it, rather than be in conflict with it, to really breathe that in, that wisdom in. Okay, so, and that's where it feels lovely. That's where it feels as if it even goes beyond confusion. It goes beyond confusion and clarity to, well, I want to say that it just is, but it goes even beyond that. Such potential this week, such joy available this week. So what is the block to it? And there definitely is a block to it. There definitely is almost a, and I am acutely aware of my own energy here as well, but almost a comfort in remaining small. And now I'm seeing buds opening from underneath the ground, cracking open. And yeah, a lot of us are going through that right now. A lot of us are opening up to our potential, and that can be quite painful. So taking care of yourself, your basic needs, you know, just like nature, air, water, sun, being very compassionate with yourself. I'm doing a laughter therapy course at the moment, and we're looking at positive psychology, but we're also looking at the human givens and really feeling into that needs are a given. You know, they're not a luxury. Our needs are not a luxury, they are a given. And from there, recognising perhaps the ones that we haven't allowed ourselves to have because we haven't seen them as a necessity, or the necessity that they are. So now these cards are aching my arm, making me stretch tendons that I haven't stretched for a while in my wrists. But remembering muscle memory. Okay, so it may feel a bit uncomfortable, but just remembering your muscle memory. It's nothing that we're not capable of this week. Okay, energies this week and how to best navigate them. It's beautiful because I really felt a matriarchal, wise, elder energy coming in, and what we actually have at the bottom is the King of Swords. So even my own expectation there of it being a feminine, it's the masculine. The masculine feels a lot softer this week, and that can cause a lot of confusion to our logic and our need to understand, because it's almost as if our actions, our masculine, the men perhaps in our lives, have woken up and known that it has to go beyond the mind now. It has to go into what we feel, and that can be uncomfortable because all the time we can logically explain something, we don't have to feel it, but actually we're being really encouraged this week underneath it all to have that more divine connection to our own wisdom and our own insights and our own thoughts by adding the feelings to them. Okay, so is there anything else I want to see here with him? It is a time of contemplation. It is a time of preparation. That doesn't mean that we're not doing anything. That just means, you know, this king almost looks as if he's in his pyjamas. It is a time of rest and being. But the sun there in the background, that equinox is coming. Okay, the truth is coming. It's the saying, isn't it? Three things cannot stay hidden for long: the moon, the sun, and the truth. I think it's, don't quote me, it might be Buddha, but I can't remember, or Dalai Lama. It's one of those two incredible masculine figures. Yeah, so having the wisdom to know that whatever we need to find out will come to the surface. Sitting, watching, observing, without trying to explain it. Let it show its full, authentic nature before we act. Okay, Monday. Gosh, I just realised how big these cards are. Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Move that to one side. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Overall, So I noticed how big the cards were, as I noticed that the first 3 days of this week are all major arcanas. We are going into this equinox with some really strong energy, and we are being asked to be really strong as well. Particularly today we have the Strength card. Looking at how we perceive strength, looking at our own narrative behind that now, and how we feel about strength and the strength we believe we need to have. Because this card in particular, there's a boar there, and I really feel that. I really feel the tiredness from being strong. Hyper independence isn't strength, and I can say that from my heart. I can say that totally relating to it and totally being a completely hyper independent person. It isn't strength, it's a trauma response. On the Monday in particular, really looking into the things that we believe may have given us courage, that we believe may have given us the strength, really feeling into them and asking ourselves, 1, have they? 2, where do they come from? And 3, do they work for us anymore? And you can see in the background here, the sword has been laid down. It's not about the mind anymore. It's not about our thoughts, our views, our beliefs about this anymore. It's about how well we can sit with the energy that's rising in us, the emotions, how well we can open to any truths that wish to be seen within us now. I'm going to leave it at that, and Monday, part of the strength actually feels as if it's about knowing that we're doing the best that we can with what we've got and not having to find any more answers than what we have. Because strength is also the card of patience, okay, and also the card of opening up to our own divine timing there. Strength can be, I don't know. It's truth. Strength can be, I need to wait this out. It's integrity. Strength can be, I don't have all the facts yet. And sitting with how uncertain that can make us feel on the Monday really is key. On the Tuesday, as we go into the 24 hours of the equinox is actually, I think, at 6 minutes past 3 on the Wednesday morning. But on the Tuesday, as we start to go into the energy of the equinox, we do have the Death card, and I'm not surprised to see that there. My whole screen just flickered then. We do have endings, and it's allowing space for those endings. In the background of this card, we have the Serpent, which is Amaru, Mother of the Waters, but also on the Peruvian medicine wheel, our connection to the earth and stories that need to be shed. And on the Tuesday, we're being asked to hold space for that. On the Monday, we may not know what it is. Allowing space without trying to figure out takes us into this nothingness, into this, what we would see as darkness, but also a very valid part of our light. So at the equinox, before we go into that equal day, we have the fact that the nights were longer, that darkness was longer before we go into that balance. Allowing that for ourselves as well, allowing ourselves to go within to the uncertainty and the unknown on the Monday is going to bring forth the changes on the Tuesday. And here you can see again with the Death card, we have the skull. It really feels as if it's our mindset here that is almost being released. So the skull is about to be put into the cauldron, or at least come out of the cauldron. And in the background here, we have what looks like an eagle, a new perspective to be born. But first, behind us are the stories that need to be shed. I don't know if you can see them. It's so blurry on this camera. What I can see at the moment is the scythe. It's so interesting. And also the red cape. So the red cape here from the Monday, and the red cape on her there. And the red cape is our connection to our root chakra, our blood, our passion, our femininity, the very blood of Pachamama, the waters, our emotions. Okay, so it's not that we need to stop feeling the way that we feel, just that we need to feel it. And allow them to move, allow them to shift, allow the emotions to do what it is they do best, energy in motion. Holding space for them, having the courage and the strength to do that so that the emotions can allow the stories to be seen, heard, felt, and as a result, released. On the Wednesday, as we go into the equinox energy, I feel confusion, and the confusion comes from trying to jump ahead. So if I look on the Wednesday card, we have the Hanged Man. If I start to look beyond that and see what's going to happen after the equinox, once things have been in balance, what happens is I come out of balance. So recognizing that in order to receive harmony, in order to restore harmony, it's so pivotal that we be present with where we are. And we know this, but the equinox is really going to bring that to the surface and to show us where we may be deliberately seeking energy, stories, whatever, to take us out of harmony. Because for a long time, species and the evolution of man has depended on being in fight or flight. It has depended on the knowing that we have to ensure that we have food, we have water, that we are safe. That isn't the case anymore, but man hasn't evolved past that. So harmony for mankind is actually to seek drama, to seek fight or flight, because we have long gone past the recognition of harmony for what it truly is. And on the Wednesday, that's going to come to light, where we may be deliberately seeking anxiety, deliberately seeking change that isn't ready, deliberately seeking out of our potential to ensure a narrative that now no longer sustains us, and that is the martyr narrative, that is the victim mentality here. So on the equinox, taking time to really see things from a different perspective, ourselves included, maybe on the Wednesday with the equinox, doing things completely differently from what you would do. Okay, so for argument's sake, I normally get up in the morning first thing, clean up, do my healing and daily guidance. Maybe doing something completely different. Changing the game. Doing things from a different energy. It's that that's going to bring in something new. But we can't do that if we're not present. We can't do that if we're not willing to see what is actually going on from all angles, not just the familiar stance that many of us have been taking. And on the Wednesday with the equinox, it is that we're being asked to bring forth. If we are to change the harvest that we are bringing in, if we are to change how much we grow, yeah, it's really, really time for our actions to get a bit raw, to get a bit naked, to be exposed and vulnerable, to look at where we're not certain, to look at how we're acting from a place of pain or trauma or uncertainty, and to just for a minute stop. Let the harmony return. Let the balance be. Taking a moment out. It does feel as if it's left over from the Pisces new moon. We haven't cleared that yet. Even though we do have the Libra full moon at the weekend, everything that the Pisces new moon has been about is going to culminate on the Wednesday with the equinox. And I hear the word cosmic culmination. It does feel as if everything's coming together for the Wednesday. On the Thursday, that's when it starts to become more about us. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the energies leading up to all of that are very major arcanas. They're very outside of us. They're very, it can almost feel as if we're being affected and we have no choice. Come midweek, that is all about to change, because that is where we realise that it is in how we work with these major arcanas that decides our actions and how grounded we are in our connection to our body, to our cycles, but also to our very nature around us. And that is where we have the Princess of Pentacles. Don't forget the joy. Don't forget the curiosity. Don't forget the, and I really want to smile, like I can't smile enough on the Thursday. Don't forget the connection, the wonder, the childlike innocence of walking this path. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday could be quite heavy, but they may also bring to light where we're being a little bit too heavy, where we have forgot the magic, where we're not quite connected to our inner child or not quite listening, where we may be the very thing that's making it heavy for our own internal self. On the Thursday, it's really worth looking into, because come the Friday, it would be coming from the Friday, but come the Friday we have the Eight of Swords here. I'm going to say this with the most love in my heart that I can, which is topped up with cacao. A lot of the time, some of the situations we put, actually, come the Friday, we really need to be clear with what is going on. We can put ourselves in our own mind entrapments. We can put ourselves in situations, that we can put ourselves in. And come the Friday, that's going to be quite hard to recognize, and a lot of people aren't going to want to look at that. Particularly with the Thursday, when we've had that moment of joy and curiosity, we're going to see where we have been holding that back from ourselves on the Friday, where we have been mentally trying to overanalyze things, where we have almost held a ceiling over ourselves. I can relate, and it's already started for me the last few weeks. I can see where I'm holding myself back with old beliefs, and come the Friday, collectively as well, we're going to see that. But it doesn't matter what we see outside of us. If we're not willing to look inside, it means diddly squat. It is a pure projection of where we are. So what is going on for you on the Friday that is having such an impact on your external environment, and vice versa? What is going on for you where your external environment is feeling so trapped? Really feeling into that mentally on the Friday is going to be key. On the Saturday, we have the King of Wands. Agency. It's a real bummer when we admit not defeat. It's not defeat. It's going to feel like it by the end of the week, but it isn't defeat. It is admitting where we may have made our journey harder than it needs to be. But when we do that, come the Saturday, we can have agency. Come the Saturday, we can really stand into our own spiritual energy and our own drive and our own ambition, rather than relying on others. And I'm going to say that, rather than relying on others, other people's views, other people's interpretations, other people's journeys for us to compare ourselves to. I very nearly today looked at other readings into the energy for the equinox, which is like unheard of for me, and I was so tempted, and I fell into that, and it, you know, really addressed my own disconnection, my own agency, my own need to stop overthinking and comparing myself to others. We all do it. Comparing ourselves to others, or using the views of others to hold us back. Or, you know, this weekend it's really going to come to light where we're doing that, and it can be difficult, but come the weekend it gives us a wonderful opportunity to glow up, not grow up, glow up, to really step into that fire, to really step into that potential. And when we do that, we don't have to wait till the weekend. Yeah, sometimes we can know where something's going and step into the medicine before we have to be, you know, ill the whole week, or, you know, whatever it may be. So we can feel an example. Before you come on your cycle, a lot of women will get quite aggressive and quite angry, like a tension. A lot of the time it's because they need to rest. So recognizing that, acknowledging that, feeling into that, and resting before it gets to that point. Come the weekend, we may be shown where we could have stepped in earlier and stopped things from happening. Acknowledging it's part of the flow and it's part of the journey, but taking that wisdom forward, so in future, if we do feel mentally trapped, okay, what is really going on for me here? This is to do with my inner child, perhaps, and the connection with the earth, or, you know, my needs being met. And particularly, I would say Thursday, Friday, it does really feel like that. Needs being met, and then being a human given. And if that isn't the case, then really feeling into where we may feel trapped in situations because we're not getting what we need to evolve beyond them. That comes down to us, and the weekend, by the weekend, we do receive that agency. Doesn't have to wait until the weekend. We can come back to the strength card on the Monday and think, okay, so the universe this week is going to show me where I'm not meeting my needs. Yeah, the universe this week is going to show me where I need to let go of certain patterns that are doing me no favours anymore, where I need to see myself from a different perspective and restore balance, just like the world around me is about to on the equinox. Okay, so I know it's related to my inner child, or it's related to a younger view of my needs being met here, and it comes from feeling trapped mentally in a loop, perhaps. So I need to take agency for that. I need to glow up. I need to expand my vibration to really feel into what is it that's doing that to me. I know sometimes if I sit on social media for too long, my energy is all static and erratic, and I have to go out in nature. Feel into the body and allow the body to direct the spirit come the weekend, and our emotions as a result. On the Sunday we have the King of Cups here, and we do have a real celebratory evolution of our own masculine energy. So we have the King of Swords, the King of Wands, and the King of Cups here. The only one that's actually missing is the King of Pentacles. There is a bit of a lack of grounding, okay, so keeping an eye on that, particularly when it comes to maybe not feeling the things that we feel. We may want to get away from that. So this, you know, we could have the odd glass to numb down our feelings. We could be quite discerning and firm. Oh, the King of Pentacles is underneath the King of Swords. You couldn't write that. We could be quite discerning and firm, okay? If we're not in balance, we could be a bit overprotective, a bit too proactive, really feeling into what it is we're standing up for here and how grounded we actually are in that, because we do have the King of Pentacles underneath. So we have the 4 men here, the 4 male energies here, and straight underneath that we have the Magician. There's a real deep need this week to balance the emotions within us, to really connect to our own spirituality. I almost want to put them back in order, but I don't need to. Underneath that is the 9 of Swords, and there's this mental anguish coming from trying to put things into order, trying to put structure into chaos is totally pointless. The structure and routine comes from accepting chaos for what it is. The same goes with our emotions, the same goes with our spiritual energy, the same goes with our path. There's a big difference between routine, structure, order and imprisonment, and this week that's where we're going to be shown where we're at and where balance is required. And that can even be in our own view of freedom. Is it giving us freedom? Or is it avoiding some necessary structure, some necessary routine, some necessary focus, particularly in regards with our actions? So I'm going to leave the Magician on top. Overall, the energy this week is the 5 of Swords, and I just adore this. You can see a more, almost a younger masculine that has been defeated here, and a more sacred, wise, have walked the path type energy coming in our actions. Not repeating the same things, there's no point. That's a very immature way to do things. There is a big emphasis on we go round in circles. You know, our life is cyclic, just like nature. However, it's more of a spiral, so it's still expanding and it's still going either up or down, depending on where we are. It's not the same. It's never the same. And if something is the same, then something hasn't shifted. It could be your mindset. We are being really invited to look into that as a turning point this week. Nothing is the same. This moment in time is not the same as the moment before it. And we owe that to ourselves, we owe that to each other, we owe the recognition of expansion that can come from that, the change that can come from that. Otherwise, how else are we going to know what we've learned? How else are we going to gain the experience and wisdom of walking this path if everything remains the same? So, we did have, do you know what? I'm going to put them all to one side. We knew that we had 3 major arcanas, and then the 4th one comes from the Magician, which is our ability to balance the elements within us this week. And it is in regards to our actions. It is in regards to our own inner masculine, because they were all king cards of the swords. The wands, the pentacles and the cups. So it is in relation to what we do with the information and how the information affects what we do also. Today is like the 2nd or 3rd week in a row that this video has been done in the afternoon because I've been on social media, and I can accept that. That's the consequences of my actions, and this week we're going to be shown that. We're going to be shown, not in a foreboding way, but in a truthful way. You know, the consequences of our actions. If we want change, if we want certain things to shift, then we need to really look at what we're willing to do to ensure that happens. Okay, so 1 card for this week, how to best navigate. We're back to the Magician. Underneath is the 7 of Cups, and I feel as if the more we look at what's underneath things, we are going to get that 7 of Cup energy. We are going to get that more endurance of our emotions because we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out what's underneath it. It isn't necessary. I'm going to put them to one side. The energy overall this week is the Magician. Yeah, it is our ability to, as above, so below, as within, so without, to be what it is we are trying to create, to recognize where we may not be in harmony with that, where we may not be in balance with that. I know sometimes that my mind is totally out of sync with the world that I'm trying to create, and I have to really watch that, and I do so with compassion, and I feel the impact that that has, and I really go into it and I experience it, and I do whatever needs to be done as a result for healing of it. But I am always called out for it, and I would always want that. You know, this week really looking at, you've got the cockerel in the background, really looking at where you may be called out in regards to your authenticity or your truth, because it's that that's standing in the way of what you're trying to manifest. Whether that's the world you're trying to create for your ancestors, whether that's a job, a relationship, a home, or whatever that may be, to be called out and shown where you're not being authentic is the most incredible opportunity to ensure that you are. Have the most incredible week. I shall see you post equinox, where hopefully things are a little bit lighter. Take care, or at least balanced. See you next week.